All right, what's a better vlogging place for somebody who's like really in the cars? Look at, you got you got the tires right here. Sweet. I gotta fix this one. Oh shit. I think I am gonna have to buy a new one. Nah, I'll be fine. Whoa, shit. Maybe I shouldn't be using wheels to sit on. Anyways, what is going on in today's video? As you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, that I'm going to try to save you from a world of hurt. Trust me, don't be like me and buying a car that needed quite a bit of work. My E36 ran and drive just fine when I got it. There's just a lot of other shit wrong with it. So anyways, I'm gonna tell you guys a handful of things that you need to look for if you are deciding on buying an E36 as a drift car. So first and foremost that you need to check, which is probably the real only thing you can check when you're with the seller, is to check the water, the thermostat housing. So the upgrade for these is buying the metal housing. It has the metal fins. So from factory, BMW put these plastic ones in on the E36, and they are notorious for breaking, and then you have overheating issues like nobody's business. All right, so the second thing on these cars you definitely want to check are their subframes. So mine is pretty solid. Like, I should probably reinforce it, and I'm going to here soon when I get another car that I can drive that's not my E36 every day. But I at least got lucky enough right now that I have a subframe in my BMW that isn't bent, isn't cracked, or anything like that. If you go pick up a BMW and you look under it and you inspect the subframe and it has any sort of twists, bends, cracks, anything like that, either A, don't buy that car, or B, be ready to enforce that or replace it immediately. These subframes like to just twist and snap right out from under the car. It's a very common thing. I know that's kind of probably really bad to say because the subframe is pretty important, but yeah, it is a pretty known issue on these cars, so definitely want to yeah, you want to take care of that. I mean, that kind of goes for any car too. You really want to reinforce the subframe as much as you can with really any car, especially if you plan to push like a ton of horsepower and a ton of torque, because yeah, that shit will just... All right, and number 3. I don't know why I'm counting these. I'm not really doing like a countdown things. These are just general things you should know. But anyways, number 3, I'm actually dealing with this issue right now. Check the diff. Oh my god. I honestly cannot stress that enough, because my diff bolt has broken 3 times now, and I never figured it out why. I just thought the bolts just weren't strong enough. Well, yeah, that is what I thought at first, but in my last video that you guys should go watch, I found out my bushing is bad just by putting something in there and, you know, wiggling it around and seeing that it moves more than it should. This kind of like ties into everything. The bushings on these cars, on both the subframe and the diff and the control arms, they're not the greatest. So definitely want to see if they either A, the car you're buying has poly bushings, or B, invest in poly bushings pretty much right away. They're fairly, I want to say they're fairly cheap, depending on where you get them. I know the Condor or whatever those ones are, they're like $100 per set, which is pretty spendy, but they're really good. It's what I have. The other one is like a purplish. It's a purple one. I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's purple. You can find it on Beamer Worlds, and they're a lot more cheaper. So like a set, I think a set for the bushings, for the diff, I think they were like $50, $50 or something like that, and that's all 3 bushings. Or it was like 60, it was somewhere around there. It wasn't $100. But poly bushings are a little bit more expensive, but they are definitely a lot stronger, and they are definitely needed for the E36. The bushings on these cars definitely like to blow out, and it's not just the diff too, but the front diff bolt is like the more common issue in the E36 land. Is that's the one bushing that does cause a lot of issues. So you want to make sure that that's something you can check. If these are things you guys can check too when you're with the seller, perfect. You know, if you can get under the car, take a flashlight, all you really have to look for, but the bushings, you just have to look for, they either look like this or they look like this. And if they look like those two, then you're set. But of course, if you can't check it with the seller for whatever reason, maybe the car's too low, I don't know. But definitely do your best to get a good look at one of those. Do something. Don't just walk up to, hey, here's my money. All right, cool, thanks, see you later. This isn't really like a BMW thing per se, but always check compression before you buy a car. Like, you can get one pretty much any part store, Harbor Freight, or really anywhere for like not a whole lot of money. I think like less than 40 bucks, between $20 to $40, somewhere around there. This is a really simple compression kit. It doesn't have to be a big fancy one, but you know, you can just get just the one and put it in the spark plug, right into the cylinder through the spark plug holes, and you know, pull the ignition fuse. But that way you can get a reading on the compression of the BMW, which I should know this off the top of my head, but definitely Google this if I'm wrong, but it should be anywhere between like 150 and 160, I believe. Oh, like 170. Fuck it, I'm gonna Google this real quick. Yeah, I actually just Googled it real quick. It's anywhere between 150 and like 160. It's like perfect compression. So that's what you should be looking for. If the compression is any lower, don't know what to tell you. Definitely don't buy that car, because you're gonna have to pull the head apart. You're gonna have to go inside the motor to fix stuff, and that could be either rings, valves, gaskets, head gasket. I mean, it could really be anything if you're losing compression somewhere. So really, those are about the things you should be looking for in E36. I really haven't had any other issues with the car other than those like very, very common issues that people normally have issues with. There's a lot of other issues I've had with the car, but everyone's just like, yeah, it's just, you know, that's just the time for the car, or, you know, it's not really common. But stuff like the diff bolt, the front diff bolt breaking, everyone's like, yeah, that happens quite often. But that's why they make solid bushings, like poly bushings, and that's why you reinforce your subframe by welding plates to them in the mount where they mount and stuff like that. So there's ways to fix it. You just want to make sure A, you fix them right away, or B, you are looking at the car and you're like, okay, that's got poly bushings, that's got reinforced subframe, that's already got metal thermostat, stuff like that, and you're like, damn, this is a good deal, this is a good car. I don't know if there's any other common issues. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of crap with this car, and I've actually decided to make this video now because I've actually owned the car longer than 6 months, which is, I think, the longest. No, not the longest car. I had my Toyota Supra a lot longer. Don't get hyped, it was a 1990, it wasn't the A80 Supra. So because I've owned the car this long, I decided to do this small little video to maybe help you guys not buy a halfway broken car, because I didn't look at anything when I bought this car, aside from the fact I drove it for like 30 minutes. Drove it around the block for 30 minutes, and it didn't overheat, it didn't have any weird issues, there's nothing wrong with it mechanically. So I was like, oh, car's solid. I didn't bother to check the suspension, which was blown. I didn't really feel it until we got on our way back home. You know, there's other stuff. I mean, those bushings, everything on the car held up for quite a while. I'm not gonna like say, ah, crap, this all broke on me in like a week I got the car. But if it had the right equipment, if it had the right stuff on it, I should say, then I wouldn't be dealing with this issue right now with the car being broken down about 10 feet that way. Or like, I don't know, 20th time. You guys go back in my videos to go tally up every video that the BMW is broken in, and then tell me how many times, because I think that's the amount of times it's been broken down, but it's been pretty consistent lately. So with that, Jesus Christ, that light's bright. And with that, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys all in the next video. I'm not too sure what I'm gonna be doing yet. I think I wanna do, I have enough info on the BMW now to pretty much make a good argument on why it's either the best or the second best drift car you could possibly buy. I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And if I missed any info, if I did miss any other common issues, comment them below for sure. Like, let me know so I don't keep breaking this car. Okay, bye.